In this part, we'll be drawing the human nose. It's always a good place or a good way to start with a nice lightly drawn outline, getting the basic structure. By thinking about what the forms are that make up that particular item you're drawing. With the nose, it's the cone and basically two spherical forms. The only line work on the nose is really within the nostrils and the outside edges of the nostrils. The rest of the nose is really determined through your light and shadow. So here you see I've given it a light source in the upper right and getting some of those shadows along the left sides of the nose and even underneath, from that, because that light's coming from above. Here I'm actually adding a shadow on the cheek next to the nose, allowing us to see that lit up side of the nose or that highlighted bridge and nostril. I also, put the eye in there as an indicator of where this shadow should go. The shadows should go up the nose and actually create the narrowest part between the eyes at the bridge of the nose. And that shadow should essentially carry right up underneath the eyebrow itself. When shading the nose, whatever shading techniques you use, whether it be smudging or cross-hatching or whatever you like to do, carry those shadows out beyond the nose and onto the face itself. Think about the cast shadows that the nose would actually create on the cheeks. And again, in order to see that side of the nose, you actually do have to shade that cheek. Remember to get some nice gradients within your blends. The better the blend you have, and let that shadow reach at least halfway across the nose, and that'll, help to make the nose look a lot more round. The lips. When drawing the human lips, it's a good place to start with the actual opening of the mouth itself. Really, that is the only line within the mouth. It's good to outline the lips, know where they're going to end, get the basic shapes and forms down. But the rest of the lips aren't outlined. It's just a tonal values or tonal value changes, with the tones of the lips as compared to the skin of the face. When shading the lips, get according to where your light source is. Here it's again the upper right, so the shadows will occur on the bottom of the top lip and the bottom of the bottom lip. Always handle each lip separately as its own particular form or object. Here I'm darkening the opening of the mouth. You can really carry that out, get some good contrast there, since that is an actual opening. I'm also pushing out and getting a little darker on the bottom there, actually pushing out the bottom lip to thicken it up. Again, the better the gradation in your blend here, the more round the lips will look. Now at this point, what I've done is actually start to fill the lips entirely in. The lips will be darker than some of your other values within the face, but you can really push the darkness on the lips, especially if you want to show, maybe a woman with lipstick or a gloss, and here you could even get some abrupt highlights on those lips, making them look round and shiny. The human ear. The ear is a tricky one. A good place to start. Make a lobe in the lobe in the top often maybe a little bit larger than the bottom. As you look around and look at ears, you can see how different they can be and how much they can change from one person to the next. A couple things all ears have. You have the hole in the ear, and you have the kind of nodule or bump in front of the ear, the deflector. And usually there is some sort of rim or overhang in the top, as well as some folds within the ear. As you begin shading this, think about the forms and how they may be sticking out or curving in, where the cast shadows may fall within the ear. But really just go for it, wing it. If you push those shadows too far, you could always come back in and do some drawing in reverse with the eraser, which I always recommend. It allows you to think about the highlights, rather than the shadows. Good way to clean up a picture and get a little bit more contrast within the shadows. So there you have kind of a general, generic ear. Here you'll even see as I, think a little bit more about the shading, what might happen. I bring a shadow in front of the nodule, in front of the ear, just to help indicate, how it sticks out away from the face. Also indicated the hairline here. Finally, the human eye. This one's the most fun. You know, always a good place to start. Get the football. Get the basic football shape. I tend to make my football shape a little wider in the middle, allowing me to put a full circle for my iris and my pupil. This helps a lot in creating the correct curves within the shape of the iris and the pupil itself. There you see I kind of changed my football, giving a little bit more, dynamic curve to the eye. Um, and I pulled the lid now down over the iris and the pupil. Always hop right in there and fill that pupil right up black. Get a nice shiny highlight in there. Uh, you know, until you do that, the eye will look strange. So, do these things as you go. Here I'm adding some texture and some tonal values to the iris. You can actually get an outline on the iris. There is a part of the iris there that often makes the outer edge of the iris darker, which works great for a drawing. Here you see I put double lines in on the lids. If you really think about the details of the ear or the eye, you can actually, if you look closely enough at an eye, you'll see the actual thickness of the skin as it pulls up over the eyeball itself. I usually put that in. It's a good reminder as you pull out your lashes too, where those lashes come from. Here I'm adding some tonal values around the eye. There often is some deeper, darker shadows around the eye where the eyeball is actually sitting in the socket. Again, coming in with the eraser, doing some drawing in reverse, lightening up, cleaning up, and adding some more highlights. Even one on the lid there where it may be bulging out beyond the shadow of the brow. Finally, after the smudging and work is done, add those lashes and pull those lashes right out from the edge of that, lid or the thickness of that skin. Imagine those growing right out. Here what I'm actually doing is darkening or pushing in on the lids and actually extending out the size of the iris, creating a little less white space within the eye.